What's good, everybody? Qu1tter here, excited for you to check out The Chat with Qu1tter. Qu1tter is a recording mix engineer, works all over the industry, started in Cleveland, Ohio in an indie band, made his way out to LA in 2022. And in that short time, in those 2 years, he's been working with Glorilla, Rich the Kid, London on the Track. It's like he really has jumped into the hip-hop space in a really, really big way. And he's got some awesome stories about what it's like to be thrown in from Ohio into the LA music industry and being on that come up. Really, really fun conversation. I'm excited for you to hear it. Before we get there, I'd like to introduce our title sponsor, DistroKid. So DistroKid makes music distribution fun and easy with unlimited uploads, and artists get to keep 100% of their royalties and earnings. And with our show, you can get a 30% off discount. It's the best one in town. You just go to distrokid.com/VIP/Love Music More, the name of the show, VIP Love Music More. 1 million plus artists rely on DistroKid to get their music onto Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, TikTok, Tidal, Instagram, and all the major streaming services. And you can also add your lyrics, which I think is really cool. So you can have all your song credits, all of your lyrics, all of your splits, send it to collaborators so they get their money. You don't have to deal with the accounting. DistroKid's awesome in terms of just being like a one-stop shop for everything you need to distribute your music and get it on all the platforms and make some money. Also, speaking of making some money, I would really appreciate it if you used our code because it helps support the podcast, helps support your career, and gets you 30% off. So distrokid.com/VIP/Love Music More is where you can find that. And I hope you enjoy this conversation with Qu1tter. Ciao. What's good, everybody? This is Qu1tter. We're back with Love Music More, joined with a really awesome guest, Qu1tter, recording mix engineer, working all over the music industry, some incredible credits, a bunch of different genres and things like that. Glorilla, who I saw at Coachella, that was insane. Rich the Kid, London on the Track. We've got a bunch of stuff that we want to talk about. We're gonna talk beat making, loop making, recording, mixing, comping, all of that good stuff. Welcome, Qu1tter. How are you doing, man?
Thank you. I'm great. Thank you for having me. This is amazing. This is dope.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm so glad that you could be here. Are you on one of those like bouncy balls? Those
I'm on a yoga ball. Yeah,
yoga
I'm on a medicine ball. Yeah, my good friend Austin Weber, who does music, he lives in LA and stuff. But he I pulled up to his studio one time. And we were just like loop making and stuff, and like throwing stuff down. And he had one, and I was like, what's up with this? He's like, oh well, like he's like super fit and like bikes and like runs and stuff. Right. He's like, well, because I sit all day, like it fucks up my back. And I'm like, oh, and then I was like, you got to try this if like your back has been hurting. And like my back, like I've been having back problems, but like this thing, it's like, it's kind of nice and it's a vibe and you can, bounce and like it's dope.
I love it.
It's my thing.
Yeah. I mean, people don't realize how much of like a desk job music making really is.
It really is.
especially with doing the electronic stuff like I do too, where you're just in the weeds, moving stuff around, comping. So what have you been working on lately? Like what has been kind of your move?
Yeah, I guess lately it's been a lot of like afrobeats and stuff.
Cool, awesome.
Like been working with this amazing artist Teni the Entertainer, who's like Nigerian, like great like Nigerian like African artist.
Yeah.
This newer artist, Blnde. She's like brand new, but she's coming up. So like we're kind of like developing her a little bit, like getting her more hip to it and stuff. But she had a big week at like the Grammys and stuff, just being around and stuff. So she's been busy. And this guy Manny Wells too, great Afrobeats artist, like literally amazing guy too. And so every now and then I'll pop in a session with him, but love working with him. Afrobeats, R&B, a lot of like pop stuff too. Like
for sure.
Last night and past like for a long time now, I've been like pulling up with like I don't know, you mentioned earlier, like I've been working with London. So like London on the Track, like he's kind of like he's all over the place too. He's doing stuff, but we're kind of developing some people with him. So
cool.
A lot of cutting there at his house and just everywhere. But and then trap stuff too. I was working with this UK rapper Central C yesterday too, and he's just like super drill, like
cool. Yes,
Brit rap. Like it's amazing. It's so dope. So yeah, that kind of stuff. And then just like every now and then I'll just jump over. Ben Davis, you did a podcast with him. Like
for sure.
I work with him a lot too. Like, and I just kind of help him out with his studio and like make sure it's nice and all the gear works and stuff. But he's been out of town, so I've been just there like making loops and doing sessions and stuff. Like
awesome
on the offhand. So yeah, that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah. So you're wearing a bunch of different hats, right? So you just kind of like blew through a bunch of different things, everything from, vocals to beat making. You were talking about before about playing guitar in some tracks. How do you balance kind of like going from one end to the other?
I mean, I don't, it's just like, I wish there's so many days where I was like, man, like I wish I could like, I want to make like 10 loops today or something. Or like I want to have like a loop day, and then I'll get a call. It's like, yo, so-and-so's in the studio. You want to pull up and cut? And I'm like, well, all right. I mean, it's tough because like just the other day, like I was like in a session, like doing vocals, and they're like, all right, at 8, we need you to drive to this other studio. We need you to engineer and play guitar at the same time. Yeah. And I was like, all right. So I ran back home, grabbed my guitar, and I got there, and it was with, it was a session with this girl, Talou, who's like Afro pop girly. And then this guy, Musa Keys, who's like big South African like producer, like on like, does bigger songs. And then one of the guys who wrote that song "Water" by Tyler. I don't know if you heard that.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, great. Tyler's great too. She's such a sweetheart.
Cool. Good to know.
But like it was with them, and so like I got there and like Musa's all like trying to like, he's got my guitar in the hands. He's like telling me like, play this on guitar, and then the girl's on the mic like, no, like record me. So like I got like my left hand's on the keyboard, like I'm hitting like command space bar and like comping and stuff. My right hand has got the guitar, and I'm like picking the guitar and tuning it, and like. So it's like there's really no balance, but it's just kind of like I'm just gonna try to show these people that like I can do more than just one thing. I can work. So, but I try, and I wish I had more balance. Like I wish like there's some people who like I went in like and I wanted to show them like I can like I'm a musician and I can play guitar and produce and stuff, but like I just end up being their little engineer, and that's all that's all they know me as, and it's like can't win them all, but.
Yeah, no, I get it, and I mean it is funny. Like you have to be like water, right? You gotta flow to where you're needed, and
be
and
like water.
Show what it
flow
is.
like water.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, love it.
Oh, I do too. No, so what kind of DAWs are you using through these sessions? Different ones or?
Oh yeah, I'm a big Pro Tools guy. I started originally in Logic. Like my DAW journey is like I remember like with friends in high school, like doing like we were like, let's make a song, and we like started in Logic, and my friend was like showing me Logic, and I was like, whoa, like you can like you record different things at different times and put them together. Like what? Yes. Like that's how this works. And so and then I just kind of picked it up and did Logic for a while. And then like I moved to LA and just got super into like Pro Tools because that's what everyone was like using, and that was the whole thing. And then so I'm a Pro Tools guy now. I do most stuff in Pro Tools. I will go back to Logic to like do other stuff. I don't really know how to use any of the other ones. I've tried Fruity Loops a little bit because that's where everyone's doing their 808s and stuff. That's where like all the beats are coming from. But I'm just like, even yesterday they sent me a Logic session and I had to like cut vocals in Logic, and I was so annoyed. I was like,
I know.
I was like, because I'm like doing all the Pro Tools shortcuts and stuff, and they've got their session. It's not my template. But I was just like, oh my god, like I feel so slow, and I should get better at like Logic and stuff again, and just like even out the score with the DAWs.
For sure.
It's just tough, but Pro Tools is my thing. Pro Tools is the one.
It's good to know that I'm not the only Pro Tools user out there in the world.
Really?
So, yeah, same game.
Interesting.
Yeah, I actually very similar. I started GarageBand, then Logic, then Pro Tools. Dope. And then I got too good at Pro Tools to do anything else. Like
you're like, I get the vibes.
Like, and then it's tough. I mean, that's been on my list, is to get like good at Ableton for a minute, just especially for like quick writing sessions, like quick production. I feel like Ableton and Fruity Loops have got just a different tier of like throw paint and just get something going. But then I'll like, my plan is to get good at quick sessions over there and then be able to throw it into Pro Tools to, actually,
Yeah, man, I remember when I moved out here and I saw people using FL, and I was like, these guys are fast.
It's fast. Yes.
Quick with it. It's like everything happens because like doing stuff in like Logic and just like more like band oriented stuff. It was like, all right, we're going to take our time. We're going to get the sounds. It's going to be amazing right there. But like these hip hop guys are just like, it's like if it's not done in 5, like it can't be good. It's impossible for it to be good. And I'm like, that's crazy. I've never thought of it like that. But
no, it is. It's amazing. And then, but then you have the level of detail after the session that you can dive in and you perfect things, mute the track, like take the MC and then do stuff around it to make it feel more cohesive. But yeah, that initial idea to be able to not stop the creative flow of whatever artist you're working it with. Yeah. There's magic in the non-Pro Tools stuff for that because you know what it's like.
I know what it's like. Yeah. So how long have you been doing music? Like, what's your kind of? I'm curious with you, especially just like someone who does a podcast. Like, I'm curious, like, because you probably know so much and have learned so much from talking to people and stuff. Like, what's your kind of story?
Yeah. So my thing, I started. So I'm San Diego based. I started basically playing like blues rock, and then rock music and stuff in a bunch of garages, and then eventually a bunch of churches, like their break rooms and stuff like that. Yeah. So that's kind of how I came up, was breaking into these like rec rooms. And then eventually went to school. I went to USC, studied music.
Oh, great. My sister goes there.
Hey, cool. Yeah. I was in the pop music program. Yeah. So I did that. And then that was where I got into like playing bass and stuff. I studied with Patrice Russian, who is awesome. And she taught me a lot about groove and stuff. And then did songwriting lessons with Lamont Dozier, who taught me a lot about letting go. And then from there, just started touring, playing guitar with different artists. And then eventually my girlfriend moved back to San Diego, and I saw it as an opportunity to come back like right before the pandemic. And then the pandemic hit, and then people got comfortable with working remote with mixing engineers. And then I'll go up to LA a bunch and work with people and do stuff. But most of my stuff now is like, hey, can you lay down a guitar? And then I'll lay down a guitar, send it to them. Yeah. That kind of.
The world's changed, hasn't it?
Yeah, man, it really has. And it's great because now it's opened me up for like international stuff. Now that I'm really comfortable with my own rig in my own place, it's easier to work with people.
That's good. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. So that's kind of my journey.
Good.
Yeah, I'm a generalist, That's my thing. Yeah.
Take some time. Go to the generalist.
Yep.
Love it.
And I totally get what you're saying too about like being able to wear a bunch of different, like double on all these different things.
Yeah, because you do everything too, don't you? You mix and you record and you play every instrument and stuff.
Not every instrument, but
a lot of them.
Thank you.
A couple of them.
I'm a very bad tenor saxophone player. Very.
I'm also. I used to be a good tenor saxophone player when I was like in grade school and stuff. But now I'm a very bad tenor saxophone player.
I've been tempted to start my sets, like my live music, with just the worst sax solo that anyone's ever heard. Just lose the entire audience.
Power move. That's a power move.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to show them like this is what could be happening, but it's not.
It's not.
This is not what it's going to be.
Great. But yeah, I mean, like I love with music now how you can be like, okay, yeah, you want a hi-hat part, and you just pull up a hi-hat, play a little part, and let it go. Yeah. That energy I think is really freeing versus the like band thing that we were talking about earlier of like, get everybody all locked and doing. There's an energy there too, but I kind of like the free flowing, everybody just throwing paint at the wall vibe the most.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah. So how do you usually approach beat making? Like where do you usually kind of find inspiration? Are you looking at refs? Do you have a bunch of samples?
I mean, for me. It's like, cause I'm not like much of a drum guy or like an 808 guy, like, cause I come from like bands and stuff, right?
Yeah,
like rap music, jazz music, indie music. So like, and I'm like a big guitar guy, big piano guy. So I always start with a loop. Some people start with like drum. It goes everywhere. Some people sample stuff. Some people do whatever. I always start with loops. Like I'll just sit around and be making guitar loops and bass loops and stuff. And then I'll just get an 8-bar thing, 16-bar thing, or just like a verse chorus idea. And then just like, put that in there, and then either bring my buddies in or like other people. I'll just bring them around sessions. I'll send them around and be like, "Yo, have your guy put the drums on this," because I don't trust myself to put good drums on it or like good bass. And I really, when it comes to beat making, I really I'm a very collaborative person. Like I don't think I could ever make a number one record that's a beat by myself.
I get that.
I think it's very like. I've been working with these guys, in this group called like Split Mind lately, and then these young dudes, like they're just over 20, all of them. They're like 21, 22 type thing. Yeah. But they live in this house in Beverly Hills, and like I don't know if it's Beverly Hills, but it's somewhere over there. And they they live in this house and they just make beats all day together and they sell them and they make hits and they've been making like dope records and stuff. I'm just watching their process is crazy because like they're so collaborative and they all have these ideas and they're all jumping on FL like different times. And so that kind of taught me a lot about it. Just like seeing them. Cause like when I just moved out here, I was like, you know, it's like, all right, have your idea and make it happen. But everyone's just like, all right, go. Like, all right, I'm jumping on now. Like, let me structure this. Let me arrange this. All right, you get the 808 on there. You get the synth on there. And so like, I'm very big about like, all right, I can make a simple loop. I can make an 8-bar guitar thing. And then I'm going to give that to someone else to put the synth on or someone else to do that on. So that's really how I approach beats is like, what can I make that's going to inspire somebody else to do something even better? Like that's everything with beat making for me. Like, it's not about like, can I make the sickest fucking thing right now? Yeah. It's more about like, what can I make that someone else is going to make even better? Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Like, how can I pass this baton or how can I make something that's like worth it, that'll draw something new out of somebody else where their strengths are at. No, I feel the same. I feel the same way. Like people that are really good at 808 stuff are like rare. Like everybody thinks that they are, but the people that are really, really good at it, they make it look so easy, but it's not. I'm not one of them. That's part of the reason why I played bass. Like I learned bass because I realized my like 808 chops just kind of suck. Yeah. And synth bass is cool and I'm okay at it, but like, that's where I'm at. So everybody's got their strengths. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Not one of mine, but it's other people's. So.
Yeah, no, exactly. But in identifying those people, you know, I think that's a special thing. And then being able to elevate in a way that, you know, maybe somebody would be looking on Splice for a 8-bar loop, but then it'd be an 8-bar loop that anybody else has used or you know, royalty weirdness. It's like, no, right here, this is better stuff.
Yeah, man, last year I mixed 2 records that had like were based on like the same like Splice sample.
Awesome.
Loop.
Incredible.
One of them was like a little bit higher level, like label work. One of them was like a total indie thing. Like the indie one came first, and I was like, "Oh, this is a dope record." And then the label one came like, you know, a couple like months later, and I was like, Wait. you know, what's his name or whatever? Like, have you heard this song before? And I'm just like, I did this record like a while ago, and they're like, "Oh no, like we made this one like a couple weeks ago, bro. Like this is brand new. This is that new shit." And I'm like,
whoa.
Oh, I see what's going on. You just went on Splice and found the first thing, and you were like, "Oh, whoa!"
Yeah. No, and it's weird because it's like, how does the YouTube, you know, like YouTube has got the sound ID or whatever it's got that attributes music. So if you drop a thing and it's used in someone else's video, you can get paid still through that ad revenue.
Crazy.
What happens when there's 2 songs or 12 songs or 100 songs that all use the same Splice loop? I don't know what you do.
I don't know, man. That's not my line of work, but like, it's true. It's such an interesting concept of like, what do you do if every song just becomes the same song? like we're gonna get to a point in the future when like there's just one song that everyone's singing. It's just the same exact thing. You know?
Yeah, that's incredibly dystopian.
It is.
I talked to somebody that sells. His name is Dylan. I remember. What's his last name? Dylan Kidd. He does that. Like that's how he makes his primary income is you know, making guitars, specifically guitar loops, and putting them on Splice.
Yeah. It's a big thing. It's a total big thing.
Totally. My mastering engineer too, he was in a band called RKCB. And they did a sample pack, and he like hears commercials all the time with little jingles and things that he put into the sample pack. He's like, man, where's my money?
It is, in the wild.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt this very important broadcast, but it's time for one more advertisement for myself for this podcast. What I'm asking for is for you to rate it 5 stars, share it with your friends. This is like the most important thing for this podcast to grow. So if you want to do this, you go onto the podcast screen, right? You click on the ... on Spotify. Under there, it says rate show, and you go and you click it. 5 stars. If you could do that for me, that's the best way for the algorithms and all that stuff to share it out with the world. I know that it's a lot to ask, but if you could please just hit those 3 dots and then a 5 star, it would really help us out and helps us, you know, get the word out and spread the love of music. So thank you. If you're listening on YouTube, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you so much. And here's the rest of the episode. I want to talk to you about mixing and kind of your philosophy.
Okay.
Can you talk about like a few different examples of maybe the different things that like somebody asks you to do, like, hey, this thing is like not even close to done. Can you mix it and really turn it? Or like, hey, this is stems, or this is a 2-track and a vocal, like do your work. Could you talk the variety?
I think, I mean, mixing is like, it's such a weird thing nowadays, especially in these different spaces. Like I remember like mixing being like the biggest deal when I was doing like band stuff.
For sure.
And like, oh, like this is like, we got this guy and whatever. But like with some of this hip hop stuff, it's just like, just kind of like throw a mix on there and then we'll give it to the mastering guy and whatever, like, or just whatever. So like most of the time, like it all kind of really does start for me if I'm working on a record from the beginning. Like, cause the way like I work is like beat maker makes the beat and they send it to like every A&R in their phone, or like even like a couple A&Rs, and then the A&R brings the artist and the A&R calls me and he's like, all right, we're gonna cut vocals today. So it's just 2-track in the Pro Tools. Like my template's set up with like 2-track and then like all my different like vocal things and chains and stuff. And but it really does kind of all start there. And even though it's just a 2-track, like I'm thinking about like, all right, like how do I want this vocal to sound? I don't know, because I try to think like a mixer, because like that's kind of like what I want to be for myself. Like I don't just try to think of like, all right, I'm just gonna get vocals. Like I try to think like, all right, how can I save myself the time?
Yes.
And like at the end of it, like it's just like they can be like, all right, they can leave and be happy with it. And I don't have to ask them to be like, all right, like, like give me like 10 minutes to do a quick rough mix or whatever. Because like so many times it's just people doing demos and they don't want to like, I've noticed like something I've learned for sure is that like people just do demos and stuff and they just do like, they do stuff really quickly. And so they come in and they say like, all right, we're gonna do this track today. And they do it and they like do a version of it and like we haven't comped it or anything. And they're like, all right, well, let's do another song because we want to save time really quick. So they send me another beat and then it's just like, and then we do 3 more songs and we haven't had time to like comp anything or look at anything. So like I am constantly like in the moment. If someone goes to the bathroom or like if there's a break or something or someone gets a phone call, like I am constantly like, all right, I have to do everything I can to mix. And while we're recording and stuff, like if the writer needs to sit there and like, like write something else or whatever, like I'm doing everything I can to like mix it into the beat and stuff.
Yep.
So that's where it all starts. It's really just about like getting the vocals to sit nice and just feel like they belong in the beat. Because there's so many like other engineers I've like, especially in like hip hop and rap, that like have their one fucking like waves chain that like goes into like that sends into like 3 different vocal auxes and stuff that like they don't touch at all because it's their process and what they work. But like my chain is like way simpler. Like it's got like a couple things that I know I want there on there for sure, but like I'm constantly tweaking it and changing it, and like it's not the same. Like I'll put different plugins on it if the beat calls for it, because it's different beats every time. Like an afrobeats chain is different than a Don Toliver chain for sure, or like Travis chain. Like it's all different. But yeah, so I'm constantly tweaking it. Like I guess that's kind of my philosophy. Is like, I don't know, less for sure. Like do less stuff, but just the right stuff. Like I'm always just trying to figure out like, all right, what do I like? What plugin or whatever do I like actually needs to be here, instead of having like a million and being like, all right, like this is the sound, and I just got to make sure it's all there. Like because I want people to like respect me for like my sound. Is a big thing. Like I like being fast, and I like people like hearing the record after they're done singing it and being like, okay, it feels like it belongs in the record. It feels like a rough right now. So that's the start of it. And then getting stems is a nightmare from beat makers and stuff, from everybody, because not everyone knows how to do it, and not like some people will just send you the session and be like, oh yeah, here you go. And then I've learned how to get stems out of Ableton and FL. Like I don't know how to use them or like work in them, but like I've learned how to be like, all right, this is how I bounce stuff out, or this is how I like print the files and stuff, because it's so like nobody knows how to do it right, or like unprocessed, processed, dry, like making sure everything matches. So it's tough, but it's good when you get people that like producers that really know what they're doing and understand like, all right, mixing requires like, this is how it should be labeled. This is how it should go in. But yeah, I mean, really the way that it goes for me is like, especially in the hip hop stuff, it's like, people just want the low end to make them move. So it's a lot of low end work, a lot of just clean low end, good hard hitting low end, all over the place. And loudness, being careful with like not, making anything too loud or too quiet, especially because if things are too quiet, that's how you lose work in hip hop and stuff. Like that's how you make enemies and make people hate you. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of went off on a big tangent there, just kind of complaining about like stems and producers and stuff. But
no, it's real.
That's really what it is. It's just like just control, and just a lot of control. It's a lot like when I'm actually like mixing instead of just like cutting and rough mixing or whatever, like when I'm mixing, I'm very particular with clip gain and nudging and phase relationships and stuff. Like, even though in hip hop, it's not too much of a big deal because like you're not using like a drums with like 8 mics and you have to worry about like all these phase things with them. But like with low end and stuff, like 808s and kicks, like that low end stuff, of course, like has weird phase things. And I think that's like the one like trick that I use. I don't use very many like tricks. Like some people were like, like my drums have 8 Neve plug-in things on them, whatever, and it works every time. And that's how I do my drums. It's just like, I don't use very many tricks like that. I'm very like IEQ, I'll compress a little bit, but like I'm very kind of like standard in that, but not like saturating stuff too, especially because like that's just the hip hop sound.
That's
now.
the sound.
Like you listen to like these Travis records coming out, just like even like the Offset record or the Metro record, like it's just the vocals are so like saturated and crispy, but that's what they want. They want it just to be like cutting through like a dagger, you know?
Exactly. So
that's a lot of that stuff, a lot of like, you know, saturated vocals and just like tight, boomy, low end and you know the vibes.
I know the vibes, but I like hearing it. I like hearing everybody's perspective because for sure there's some people that are very templated. Like this is my thing. I'm more on the side of what is the track telling me that it needs, or like how do we want to have the vocal interact with it. I've been learning some like little tricks that I don't know. I'd love to hear about your trick. I'll share. I'll give you one. Maybe
give me some tricks. Yeah.
So side chaining soothe. Is with like as a bass kick.
Yeah, I do that from time to time too, for sure. Yeah,
I just started doing it, and it's really cool. It's definitely not every session kind of thing, but every once in a while, it's like that's exactly what I needed. It's not necessarily so. I gotta explain. These listeners are probably gonna be like, "Yeah, you just said a bunch of like plugin names, and then we just nodded. Yes."
Yeah.
Okay, so Soothe is a resonance, like dynamic resonance tool. So everything that we do and play and say has got these little resonances, these little pokey frequencies, and Soothe tries to dynamically remove some of those so that it smooths out the audio. Is that a decent explanation, I guess, of what it does? Side chaining is when you have, instead of it reacting to the main source of audio, you're having it react to a different source of audio. So in this example, the resonances of the kick drum are powering the Soothe plugin on top of a bass guitar or 808 or whatever. And it's taking the resonances of the kick drum and dipping them in the bass so that those resonances are actually accentuated in the kick drum without having to turn them up. And then whenever the kick decays and goes away, it releases that, and then those resonances can come back up in the bass. So it's kind of like a dynamic EQ dance rather than compression, which is just like kind of volume dips. This is a little more specific.
Yeah, so that's, I would say when I'm and part of my vocal template, especially for recording, it's like that. Except I use what's it called? The Waves Factory. It's the same. It's pretty much the same thing as Soothe.
It's
I'll
look it up.
I can't remember.
I like Waves Factory.
I love Waves Factory.
Spectre.
Not Spectre. Spectre I use on vocals. It's in my template too, but it's the other one. Track Spacer. Track
Spacer. Yeah, I use Track Spacer too.
It's part of my vocal recording template, so I have it on everything. But it's just like I've got like my 2-track at the top. And then like on that, there's a track spacer on it at all times. Yep. And so my vocal aux, my vocal bus, whatever, like that, like it has a send on it called track spacer that sends it to the track spacer and the beat. And so like it's always, and I just set it at like 15%, 20%, something like that. And it's like it does the same thing. It's just like in the beat that they send me, because the beat is just a beat. There's no vocals on it or whatever.
And like as crunchy and squished as sometimes they can be, where it's just like there's no room in that. Especially if you get these FL beats and stuff. Like I got that like Fruity Loops limiter, which is sick, but like it really does compact it like that, and that mid range can really just get tight in there. So like and it's always, the vocals are always going through that track spacer, and it's always pulling out a little bit of those frequencies. Like the main, like, and I have like, what's cool about track spacer too is it's got like, it's the same thing as Soothe. Like you could use Soothe, but I like the track spacer one. Like I just like track spacer is a bit more like aggressive too. Like
it is a little bit more aggressive, and it does its thing, and it works really well for like beats and stuff.
Agreed, totally.
and like just instrumental buses or whatever. Like I'll use it on just regular mixes too.
Yep.
But like it's so easy to use, and it's got like the filters on it that you can just like,
the high end and the low end.
Right.
So you can
you
tighten
like,
that up.
I don't like I like to keep the high, like the high filter, or like the low pass filter, I guess. Okay, like I keep that like at like 5K, 6K or something. So like the like some of like the SE like breathiness can get lost in the hi-hats of the beat or whatever. And then I'll keep like the high pass filter on it. Like I'll put that at whatever, like 200, 300. So like some of the voice muddiness can get lost in the like the, you know, like the low end of the beat, or like the synths or whatever in the beat. But then like that mid range from like whatever, like 400 to 3K or whatever of the vocals, like that's all like it's taking a little bit out of the beat and like making a little bit of space in the beat for it. And it's just like it's helped so much, and it saves me so much work, and it's because then I don't have to like spend time like really EQing stuff and like thinking about like, all right, should I throw an ozone on the beat right now real quick and just like do some stuff to it, and you know, and
all that processing power and the craziness.
And it's such a thing, because you have to wait until you're done recording, because like you're gonna get all this latency and stuff, so like you have to wait, and then you don't have time to do it. But like it's so easy, and it's for sure a trick, like that soothe trick with the bass and stuff, like it's that's a little hack. Like
that is
I don't like to admit it, but like it's a little hack, you know, it's a little one.
Exactly. Yeah, and these are things that you can get around using stock plugins and stuff like that. It just saves you so much time, and it also has its own sound, and it's kind of everywhere now. Yeah. So grabbing a little bit of that, especially like, you know, I'll have these things where I'll have an artist that like loves this part and loves this part, and it's like these parts want the exact same space. So it's like, let's talk to each other. Let's use track spacer as a perfect example of like something that like really they don't want to coexist. Track spacer can allow you to have them kind of push each other out of the way. And then I also really like Gullfoss. I learned that from Luke Molman, putting that on the master, because in that kind of like, so you have these two things that are fighting with each other with track spacers. So they're kind of like crowding each other out. And then the Gullfoss can create room for both of them on that master bus. So it's like kind of this beautiful, all of these resonance filters and things that are all talking to each other and sidechain to each other can all kind of like come together with this Gullfoss. It's just a very different way of thinking about mixing than like 5-6 years ago even, I feel like,
it's so different.
And I like it. It feels more like music, because like I don't know, when I'm like, if I'm playing with somebody, right? Like we're kind of fighting with each other, but there's a give and take. There's like a dance dynamically of like, hey, there's a bass solo. I'm tucking back, like I'm tightening up my part, but then like I want to stretch out a little bit and come. And these plugins kind of like let you do that dance inside of the DAW.
For sure. It is amazing. Like it is really amazing the way it does it. I've been using too like another Waves Factory one that's kind of newer, but it's like Gullfoss, but like the equalizer one.
Oh yeah,
I have it on like instead of Gullfoss sometimes, like especially my recording template, like I'll just have it. I'll throw it on just like the master of the whole thing, just because like it's got a setting on it called gentle. That like, and I tweaked it a little bit too. So like, you know, like with the attack and release, like the cut thing, but like it just like it does a little bit to like even out just like all the frequencies at the end of it to like make it sound a little bit more like done and a little bit more polished. And it's just like, again, it's just another one of those things where it's like if I'm recording. Like last night, if I'm like doing a thing, even in like Logic or whatever, so like it's just someone else's session, and they're not an engineer or whatever, so like they don't have a template. It's just a bunch of tracks and a bunch of shit everywhere that I spent like 50, like, because I was cutting with the girl and she like cut the vocal and was just like, all right, do a quick comp. I'm gonna go down and talk to them real quick. And then it's like they're down there for 15 minutes talking, whatever. And I'm in there like going through this whole session that somebody just sent me, like finding things and like trying to like, you know, like EQ stuff really quick and make it sound a little bit better, but like. At the end of the day, like I know Gullfoss got me. I know Equalizer like got me with that little bit of polish that like just like makes it sound a little bit more just like done and a little bit more like you know, as a thing. So stuff like that though is like it's really nice. Gullfoss is like, I'm so glad it exists, you know, because
me too.
It helps my life. It really does.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, Qu1tter here. I'm excited to announce my new record, I, as in the letter I. It is available on all streaming platforms now, as well as on Bandcamp with high-res .wave files. So usually you hear the compressed MP3s or things to the streaming services. These .wave files, they sound the best. They absolutely do. It is science. I'm actually going to be posting a blog article about why waves sound better than MP3s, and that leads me to my next topic. I started a blog, and we are pressing vinyl. So whoever is subscribed to the blog is going to get first dibs on the limited edition vinyls. We're talking like some super, super limited edition. I think they're only doing like 10 or 15 of the, you know, top shelf stuff, and then there will be other really cool colorways as well. But the whole vinyl run is not that big because I'm not that big. Hopefully someday we'll be able to press more, but until then, you gotta jump on it now. So join the blog, join that mailing list. It's all free, and then you'll be able to get first dibs on that vinyl of I as it's being pressed. And on that blog, we're also going to be doing stuff for like show notes and other musical topics that require a little bit more visual component. So for example, I just did a pod not too long ago on musical notation throughout the history. It'd be kind of cool to see like what it actually looks like throughout history, right? And that's what the blog's here for. It'll hit your emails just like every Tuesday morning is kind of what we're looking at. And it'll just be a nice extra little way to love music more, expand the understanding from the podcast, and also hook you up with some exclusive perks like first dibs on vinyl records. So anyway, check out the new music. Hopefully subscribe to that Substack. You'll find the link in my show notes, or you could go to lovemusicmore.substack.com to sign up today, and we'll send you some emails. So enjoy the music and enjoy the rest of the episode. I actually used it as a effect on a kind of hyperpop thing that I was working on.
Oh yeah.
There was this one section that felt like the world was ending. It was like massive craziness that goes to like a very intimate thing at the end. And I actually cranked Gullfoss to like 200%. So it like did this weird like warble resonance filtery kind of thing.
It's so cool. Dope though. It's such a sick thing. It's like you can use it for that too. Yeah, somebody sent me this video one time of this guy who was like doing a mix online or whatever, doing like a Twitch stream or something, and like he had Gullfoss on his master bus or whatever, but like for some reason it was set to like something like that, some crazy number. Yes. So he's like mixing, he's like, man, this session they sent me is fucking awful. Like all this shit is EQ'd so much, and like he like spent like hours like fucking like EQing stuff and like dynamic stuff, and then like at the end of it, someone asked him like, so like what are your master bus settings? And he's going through, well, I have an ozone doing this, and I have a fire the clip that just does a little bit for that sound, and then I have this goal. And then he looked at it and saw he's like, oh my god. I was like, bro, you just gotta like you gotta give that, you just gotta like send that session to somebody else at this point. Like
exactly. You've broken it.
God didn't want you to have that one. Like you gotta you gotta move on.
Man, if I was coming up doing Twitch mixing sessions, I would have had so many embarrassing moments, like tweaking something for like 15 minutes, like probably even longer. Like who am I kidding? I was trash, like 45 minutes, and then being like, oh, it's been bypassed the whole time. Stuff like that. Oh yeah, me I'm really trusting my ears. Like this is great. Like,
me too. I mean, just like, I don't know, it's tough. Even like yesterday, because like I don't usually work in Logic, so I thought I was like doing stuff like in the session, like with people with like big names in the room and stuff. I thought I was like really doing stuff on like the vocal aux or whatever, but it was really just a track that had absolutely nothing on it. I'm just sitting there like, hold on, let me fix something real quick, everybody. Like, don't you worry, like just sit tight for a second. I'm on there just doing absolutely nothing. But it's funny because I've used that to my advantage too. Like when I first got out here and I'm working with these rappers and stuff, and like especially like the rap A&Rs and the rap managers, like they'll hear stuff online, or they'll see someone will send them a video of something, and they'll be like, "Oh, bro, can you do this? Like, can you add the CLA Vox on it? Can you put that CLA vocal on that?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, 1 second." I'll just open up like a note document and just start typing with some random shit, and then like go back to the session. I'll be like, "All right, how's this?" And I'll hit play, and I'll just turn the whole song. Like I'll go to the volume knob on like the monitor or whatever, turn it up just like a tiny bit, like the thing that's barely like half a decibel or something. You can't even tell. And then they're like, yeah, you hear that sounds, bro? You know, I got that ear, bro. Like, you know, like I've been in this game too long. Like I know how it works. And I'm like, yeah, but I really did absolutely nothing. They're just happy with themselves. And so many times I do so much stuff like that. Like people be like, all right, make the vocal sit on top of the beat a little bit. I'm like, all right. And I just turn the song up a little bit. And they're like, you see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Like that's, you know, there you go. And I'm like, yeah, but I just didn't actually do anything because I'm lazy.
Well, sometimes that's part of the job. You know?
Yeah, no, it really is. Just got to know how to play the game a little bit.
And it really is every genre. Because like I remember Sufjan Stevens there was like a video of one of his engineers, and he was like, I want to hit the whole thing to tape. And then his mastering engineer was like, there you go. What do you think? And like the tape machine's rolling, all this kind of stuff, but it's on the throughput. It's not running through the tape whatsoever. And he's like, oh, that's it. It's perfect. And it's just such a classic, like you see the thing turning around. You go, oh, it's got my vibe now, when it's just your head, just your eyes, not your ears.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Brain plays funny tricks on you.
Yeah, it does.
It's fun.
It does.
It's fun. It's the fun part of the job. One of the fun parts of the job is being like, yo, like, okay, what you think about this? And they're like, yeah, but it's like, yeah, I just didn't do anything. Like, I just been sitting here, like I finished. I like did all I can do. Like
this is as good as it's gonna get.
I'm not gonna do anymore. Yeah. So it's good.
Yeah.
Crazy. No. So what kind of stuff have you been listening to lately? Just in the wild.
So actually, that Tyler record I've really been into. There's also Ray. I think is her name. Is that it? I was just listening to that last. Raye. Yeah, they just released a song called My 21st Century, or an album called My 21st Century Blues. And it's incredibly clean.
Did she do that song with Shake, that escapism song?
Yep.
Is that who we were talking about?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Ray, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a good record. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun because it's not at all. It's like almost the opposite of what I've been doing, where I'm like really heavy into like saturation and dirt and present, but like different. And then this was like hi-fi, like pristine, minimal. And the vocal is just like dry and way forward. And I was like, I kind of want to make something like that now. That was one of those records. I was like, all right. You run into some stuff and you go, okay, that's the exact opposite of what I'm doing, but now I want to do that. Yeah. There's also an artist named, or a group called Athletic Progression that I definitely recommend. Some really cool like instrumentals and grooves. That I'm into, and I'm excited to like. It's got like a little bit of like a jazz funk thing to it, but also hip hop. That's kind of like the stuff that I want to make after this record that I'm doing right now. I'm doing more like acoustic-y, my folkier kind of record, and then I'm gonna follow it up with more like modern. But that kind of music, that athletic progression and like that whole kind of thing, I'm just jungle and stuff. Like I'm really into to what everybody's doing right now. I think music sounds really good. It's crazy.
Yeah.
What about you? What have you been listening to?
Oh man, I don't even know. This song came out today. Matt Champion, he's the guy from Brockhampton, and Dijon. You know Dijon?
I love Dijon.
Absolutely, it's amazing. I love Dijon, and Dijon's a guitar player. Just dropped an album too. The McGee guy.
Yeah, McGee.
Dope.
Yeah, McGee's really dope. The stuff that he's doing with his guitar, like using the little mixing board thing as his amp, with the baritone guitar, and it's great.
He's so dope. His sound is so sick.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. I don't know what else I've been listening to. I've just kind of been bouncing around a lot.
Yeah.
Just, doing the thing. I was listening to listening to a bunch of Rihanna lately too, because she's doing the thing, and
she's awesome.
Yeah, I don't really know. You know, that kind of stuff. Crazy. I got into a little bit of a Dave Matthews Band spin for a second, just randomly, and I was like, "This is so dope." But like the thing about those songs is like those like that one record. I forget what it's called, but like it's got that like Dreaming Tree song on it or whatever. Like it's and like the Stone on it, and like the mixes on that record are so sick. Like the guitars sound so amazing on that record. I've been like chasing that guitar sound for my whole life. It's like
love it.
It's crazy, and it's Dave Matthews Band, which is so silly, but
that's that's the beauty. I feel like is I'm not gonna shade you. You could be like I don't know, whatever, Barbie girl. Like I'm there's. I feel like we've broken down some of those things of like, oh, you're not allowed to listen to that, or you're not allowed to draw influence from that.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's hard. He's not. He makes good songs.
Right. And I'm like listening to like MF Doom, the Mad Villainy record, just revisiting that and being like, this could be released next year. It's that modern sounding, but like all of the choices of samples and stuff, it's like I mean, even like Wu-Tang, like it's like, oh, it's like sample children's cartoons and I don't know, and make them
Wu-Tang
incredible. So
like good shit.
Another shout out to Big Thief. That the last Big Thief record, I wouldn't be making the record that I am right now. That
was good. I remember when that record came out, and I was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, I know.
I had so many conversations with like friends and stuff about it, just like talking about it and being like, "Yo, this bitch right here," and like reading about it, like techniques and stuff they're using for recording, and I'm just like, "Stop!"
Right. No, I love it. I love that I don't know. I think that it's great to be in a time that we can simultaneously have both kind of tracks of the quick, the 2-track, the track spacers, all of that, and then also the super inventive and like old school's recording techniques pushed to the brink and then wrapped back into the digital. Having a foot in both worlds is the place that I want to be, just because it's too fun. Both of them are too fun. I don't want to be like, I like this or I like that, or you're not cool if you do this. They're both so cool, and the tools are so cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like you hear those Beyonce songs that just came out. You hear 16 Carriages, bro. It's insane. It's a country song, but like it's such a good song too. And it's funny because I've been saying this for a while too. I was like, you know, like listening to like Lucinda Williams and Tammy Wynette and stuff. Like, for sure. If some of these modern girlies like just got a little bit of that magic, you know, every now and then, or just for a couple songs, like it'd go stupid and go crazy. And look at that. Look what Beyonce did during the Super Bowl. Like 16 Carriages is like the best song I've heard in a long time. And it's so good. And she just did it just to do it. And I'm like, there you go, Queen. Like, there you go. There you go, Beyonce. Get some country and show them that, yes, we can, you know, it can happen. So, and I'm really stoked about that because it's like, getting people talking, like even in just like, you know, I'm kicking it with people yesterday and like Central C and stuff. And Central C is like a drill rapper and stuff. And like they were talking about it. Like, yo, the country record went hard. Like it sounds so amazing. It's just like making people talk about it, which is good. And that's better for like me. And then just like other like people like, you know, like what you're just saying, you too. Cause like, all right, well, you have a foot in both worlds. So like if people want to start doing this, like more real sounding records, older sounding records that, you know, have guitars on them and like you know, and that like sound just like someone's playing them and you know like sound like it's you know it's all happening in the room and not just on the computer. Like it's perfect for people like you and me who like love both of it and try to stay in both worlds and stuff. Like
but we because we're in the other world, we can make it not just sound like a throwback record.
Right.
Like, because I don't want to do that either. I don't want to just be like, oh, this could have been released in 1969. It's like, I don't care. Like, that would suck. I don't want to, it's not 1969. Like, that's forever ago. Like, I want to take the best of it. Like, almost like nostalgia, you know, like you kind of get this sheen of what the colors and stuff of childhood look like. And it's not accurate. But that's the version that I want to capture from and draw from to make the modern record is the best of.
Crazy. Yeah. I feel it.
Yeah. So I want to ask you one last question. This is how I always like to end the show. So the show's called Love Music More, and this little segment's called Love Music Why. And so I want to ask you, why do you wake up every morning and say, I'm going to answer that text, I'm going to go to that studio, I'm going to make this happen, I'm giving everything I have to music? Why do you do it?
That's we're getting deep here, Scoop.
Yeah, it's a big question.
Zoinks, as they
would say.
Man, that's a good question. I don't really know. It's like it's just what I do. I just don't want to do anything else. I really don't.
Yeah.
Like, and also I think I'm good at it, and I think that I'm just not there yet. Really, what it is like I don't know. I remember when before I got kicked out of audio school, I was like, I would ask like the teachers and stuff. I'd be like, what was the moment? Because like they'd talk big game about like, oh, I did a record back in the day. I did a record with Bone Thugs and Harmony, or like I've worked with my first session when I was an intern with Miley Cyrus came or whatever, Demi Lovato, blah blah blah. And it's just like, I was like, sorry, like when was like the moment when you were like when you were like driving home from the session or whatever, like you got home or whatever, and you were just like, holy shit, I'm doing it. I'm doing everything I've wanted, blah, blah. And they're like, well, I mean, it still hasn't happened yet because like, we're all, as musicians, we're always craving more and we always want more. And I'm like, all right, like that's a good answer, I guess. But I remember I was working with like, in the early days, like I just moved out here and I was, still just a kid. And like, I was working with London on the track and my Sean's like this amazing singer, vocal producer. He also was like an actor, like acted in a bunch of shows, but he's worked with everybody. Like, he's big up in the industry. And like, there's like, someone asked me a question about like, so like, where are you from or something? And like that, usually that didn't happen. Cause like when I first got out here, especially in these rap sessions, like I was just, little white boy. Like, let me tell you something. This is just a message to young engineers out there. Like, it's hard to get a lean stain out of a white t-shirt. It's hard to get that out of there because if people
that's not what I thought you were gonna say.
Listen, I'm just gonna just some advice. Like, you're going to a rap session and you kind of get the vibe. Like, always do your research a little bit. If you think they're gonna be drinking lean or whatever, like, wear purple, wear some dark clothes. Because like it's like because I'd do sessions where people would like, because it was for a while it was tough because like. Just not, like they don't respect you as like an engineer, and they like people be like yelling at you and cussing you out and throwing stuff at you. And like, granted, like I was younger and I wasn't like as like fast as I was. Like I was fine, but like I wasn't like as I am now, where it's just kind of like second nature for me. I was still kind of like I just moved here and started working in rap, and like it was so totally different. But like it's tough and it wears on you a little bit, and you're just like, man, these people really don't like me and they hate me and they throw lean bottles at me and stuff and they throw lean on me. Like, it's not nice. But you get through that. I remember I was doing a session with London Mashon and somebody asked me, so like, where are you from? Or whatever. I was like, oh, like me? Like, you don't talk to me? Like, yeah, I'm from Cleveland or whatever. Like, I moved here, like I graduated high school and I moved here, and they're like, how long you graduate? I was like, well, I'm 19, so like a couple months ago, like last year. And they're just like, that's crazy. And then so like someone, I forget if it was like London or Mashon or someone was just like, oh, so like you're like Kobe, like you just went straight from the high school to the league. Yes. Bro. I was just like, when you say it like that, that it feels good. They're like, no, he's like Bron because he's from Cleveland, so he's straight from like, all right, well, like Bron James is the king, so like I'll take that compliment any day. And it just made me like, I was driving home that day and like that feeling of like these like people who like have made this music that I've loved for like my whole life. Yeah. Just like, they say something like one of those good moments. I feel like all the bad ones, like one of those, like every now and then, like for every bad session you have, or like every just like mediocre session where it's like, hey, nothing really happens. Like, you do a song and the artist isn't feeling it, or like just wasn't working. Like there's one session like that is like so amazing. And like driving home from there, I was like, that was my moment where I was like, holy shit, I'm doing it. Like windows down, like bumping the tunes, just like bumping the bounces that I made, like being like, this is sick, and like driving home. And like, so I mean, I guess it's just like feelings like that where it's like, all right, the more bad sessions I do and the more sessions I do just in general, or mixes or whatever, like the more feelings I'm gonna get like that, where I'm just like, I'm doing exactly what I said I wanted to be doing. I'm doing what I didn't think I could be doing. So that's really what it is. It's just like those little moments where like someone appreciates you, or like you do something that is just like so cool and just kind of happens randomly. Like, like every time I get discouraged, I'm like, all right, one of those moments, like it's a moment. It's 30 seconds. Like it's a 15-second moment that like makes you feel so great. And like for all the like hours of like, whatever editing and comping and melodyning and like just like stupid shit that I got to put up with, like I can live for those moments that are just so sick. So that's really what it is for me. It's just like, and eventually those moments are going to turn into minutes, and those minutes are going to turn into hours and weeks, years, whatever, like of just like, good stuff happening. So, and then I kind of say like, fuck those teachers, man. Like they're talking about like, oh, like I don't even like, I'm not there yet. Like you're always going to want more. And it's true. But like at the same time, it's just like, I'm going to take whatever I can get, like I'm going to take them being like, tell me I'm like Kobe, like that's crazy. It's just like a kid and just like an engineer. I'm not even doing anything crazy. I'm just recording people, like, and they're like, oh, like they're giving me props like that. So they're nice guys, but that's really what it is. That's why I love doing it. It's because it's like music is sick in general, right? It's music. Who doesn't want to do it? Like it's so that's really what it is. It's amazing. We love music. We do. Yeah, we do. Qu1tter and I.
Yes.
We love the music. We do.
Yes, sir. No, I love that. And I also love, teachers are an interesting interesting thing. Because obviously there you got some good ones, you got some bad ones.
Right.
But the college level like music teacher, the ones that aren't like artists in residence or out there working. That's why I liked Patrice so much. Because she's touring Europe, you know, like she's still that. She's you know. But yeah, you have other ones that, like, I remember one guy told me releasing your music without a big label budget is like throwing sand on the beach. And I was like, I'm like, if you put enough sand, you've got a big old dune. No one's going to miss that. Yeah. Like, I get it. Like, okay, yeah, I've got my handful of sand and I'm going to throw it on a beach. People might not notice. But if I keep coming back every single day for 25 years, that's going to be a lot of sand. That's going to be an undeniable amount of sand. And whether or not it's like everyone knows about it, doesn't really matter. It's the act of like going every day and doing the thing and not just being a grumpy old man that's like, oh, if only I had budget, I'd be huge.
If only I had a
exactly
like a big like excavator, you know, like, then, you know, like I could finally get enough sand, you know.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to be that old man that's like,
why? So no. It's funny though.
Yeah, it is funny. It is funny. And LA, like, you know, LA breeds that though. There's like a weird thing with like the burnout of like the LA scene that is very real. But if you protect yourself against it, you can build an incredible career. But so many people fall prey to it and just get swept up. And it sucks to see. I see a lot of my friends do it where, you know, the money's not coming. And of course that makes sense. It takes a long time for the money to come. Right. But like to give up right before you're about to do it is just, it's so sad.
Yeah.
Stay through. Yeah.
There you go. There you have it.
Don't quit.
Don't quit. That's why they call me Quitter, because I'm a quitter.
Because he's not a quitter.
I don't even know where that came from. Actually,
where did that come from?
It's just, I don't know. It comes from like a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But just really quick, I'm gonna give you like my one true horror story of like working in music. And I'd been thinking about, I don't know, like there have been different instances in like my life and like in high school and stuff where like people just like I don't know. I guess I kind of felt like I quit stuff to get into music. Like I quit playing hoops and I quit like trying so hard in school and stuff and just kind of like was like, I don't give a fuck. Like I quit all that shit. And then I spent like so much like all that energy into music and it like worked out really well for me.
Yeah.
And then people were like, because people would tell me like, oh, so you're just like quitting, you're just like giving up on that shit. And I was like, yeah, I guess so, because I'm gonna go do this other shit that's way better.
Yeah.
And so I kind of been thinking about the back of my head, but I was with this girl. She was visiting LA, and we like did this. I don't know. We went to like Palos Verdes and just like had a nice day, like hiking, walk on the beach, or whatever. And then we like we're driving back up the coast or whatever, coming back to LA, and we were listening to Kristen Lee Hudson, Quitters. Nice. And I was like, we were like discussing this concept, like, oh, like what if like album names were just like band names or like unused like artist names or whatever. So Pink, instead of being called Pink Floyd, they were called like The Wall or something, which is like still kind of cool, but like it's just like not that cool. So we'll make it an album name. We're just kind of bullshitting or whatever. And I was like, not gonna lie, like just if you called yourself just like Quitters or something, like that's kind of that's kind of a cool name a little bit. But then we came back, got back to like my apartment at like whatever, like 10 o'clock. And then we were just like having a drink, like settling in. So like I was getting a little bit drunk. And then I got a phone call from this producer and he's just like, yo, like, what are you doing right now? I was like, nothing. Why? And he was just like, all right, I need you to come to Record Plant right now. Like we got people in the studio. Like, and I was probably like 3 months in LA. Like I just met this guy like at a session a couple of days ago and like just did some work for him. And so like, I'm just like a little bit drunk. I'm just like, and if I wasn't drunk, I would have been so scared and I would have been like,
you're all loose.
Like, like, I don't know. Like, I'm kind of like busy, right? Like, you know, but like, I would have like tried to make something, but I was just like, oh, sure, whatever. And I wasn't even thinking like, oh, Record Plant, like, you know, like biggest, like one of the biggest like studios and like, you know, most well-known studios in the world. Luckily it was only like 5 minutes away. So I was like, all right, I'll be there soon. And I was like, just send me the address and like, I'll call you when I get there. And then I was like, all right, I got to go. So I drove drunk to Record Plant.
Uber, man.
Shouldn't have. But I parked terribly
Oh.
on the street.
Okay.
And I came out and like I called the guy. I'm like, "Yo, I'm here." And so I was like, "Where do I go?" And then I walked in and there's just like people and like I'm like looking around. I'm like, oh, I recognize that person. I recognize that person too because they're just like artists like in there chilling or whatever.
Yeah.
Because like YouTube was like doing like a camp
Oh.
with people. So like they're bringing all these different people in.
Yeah.
But I was like, all right. So I went. I went and they put us in like the big studio room and I walked in and like everyone's kind of like looks up at me and they're like, "Oh, what's up?" And like I see people that like I recognize immediately, like artists and stuff, and I'm like saying like, "Oh, like shit, like you're Toby, you're whoever," and like Glorilla was around, just kind of like hanging out, and I didn't say anything to her because I wasn't about to go up to her and be like, "Hey, how's it going? My name's Tom. Like, how you doing?" But like I just went in, they were like, "All right," like the producer just kind of like he's like, "Listen, bro, I know you're young, but like we need you right now, so just go sit down at the computer and do your motherfucking thing." And I was like, "Whatever." So I sat down and I tried to turn the computer on, and it like popped up for a second, and there was like a little piece of like notebook paper with a phone number. And so I was like, I'm just gonna call this phone number just to make sure, whatever. So I called it. It was like one of the people who worked there, like and like intern staff at assistants at record plant. And he came in and I was just like, "Oh yeah, you want to like log in the computer for me, like just make sure everything works." And then he was like, "Yeah, sure." And so he logged in and he's like, "All right, you should be good." And then the monitor just turned off, but like you could hear like music like playing on the speakers and stuff, but the monitor just like went dark. And I was like, he started walking out. I was like, "Bro, like what happened to the monitor?" And he was like, "Oh." And then he looked at me because he's older than me, right? So he's just like, "Bro, you have to turn the computer on." And then he went over and he hit the power button and nothing happened. And he hit it again. And then he starts freaking out. And then he's like, "Oh no." And so there's like 10 record plant people in there, like digging up the walls, like, cause there's cables in the walls and the floors and stuff.
Oh
and
no.
Ripping them all up. And like people like, the producer came in and was like, "All right, we got the engineer." And then they're like, "All right, let's record." And I'm like, well, they're trying to fix them. We're trying to fix them right now. So like me and these record plant guys are just like looking for something that went wrong because the computer wouldn't turn on and it's their main rooms. Like it obviously has to work, right? Like,
right.
That thing, like they have that stuff like powered with like the greatest equipment in that, money can buy. And so we're like trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And eventually like someone figures out some cable got unplugged or something or was bad and they figured it out and they like switched it out and it went on. At this point, like I got there probably like 10:30. At this point, it was like 11:45. So we're in there for like an hour and 15 minutes, like trying to figure it out. And like the producers and the rappers are sitting there like getting angsty and like they're getting like, "Come on, bro." Like, where would they keep coming up to me and like, "What's going on?" Like, "Come on." And I'm like, "I'm trying, we're trying." And we get it up and they're just like, the assistant comes up to me. He like hugs me and he's like, "All right, listen, bro. Like, I know that was really stressful. I'm like, sorry about that. Also, YouTube's got a hard cutoff in 15 minutes. So it's just like, you all got to be out of here in 15. And they're like, these beat makers are like sending me like 10 beats. Like, we need to cut all these tonight. And so like, all right, just tell them they got to be out here in 15 minutes. All right, see ya. And they leave. And I'm like, I don't want to be the one to tell these guys that you have to leave in 15. Like,
hell
so
no.
I was like, "All right, somebody get on the mic right now. Like, we only have till midnight." And so they're like, "What are you talking about, bro? We're staying longer." And I was just like, I don't know about that. Like, you have to take it up with the higher ups. Like, I'm just the engineer. Like, I can't decide that. So I'm sitting down there and we start recording and somebody walks in, this like guy who's like clearly like, everyone respects. They're like, "Oh, Derek, hey." And they're like, "Derek, so we gotta be out of here in 15. He's just like, "Let me take care of it." And then he like takes out his phone, sends one text, and then like 2 minutes later, he's like, "All right, we're staying all night."
Yes.
And the power of just the one man to tell record plant, like, "No,
right.
all your employees are staying here all night. Like nobody's leaving until we finish these records." And I'm just like, damn, that's some power. So we're doing the records, whatever. And I was working with Guapdad, who I've worked with a bunch, and he's a great rapper. Like he's worked with Cole and Dreamville and Jid, like all like, big people. And but yeah, we were doing some stuff with him, like doing some of his songs, working on some beats and stuff. And then like we were writing for Glorilla and stuff. And like the writers for Glorilla are so picky and they were getting mad. I don't know what kind of shit they were smoking or like whatever they were like doing, but like they first of all, they were all over the place, but they hated my guts. It seemed like they're on the mic yelling at me and they're like threatening me, like, "Bro, someone needs to like smack this white boy, like get some sense knocked into him." And I'm just like, "All right, let's just finish the song, everybody." Like, it's, whatever. And so we finished the song, and then the guy is in the room, like on his phone, the writer, and he's like just like on his phone, like texting girls or whatever. And then I'm just in there, and also there's girls like in the room, like they brought in like women like to come in and like like throw ass and stuff, and just like like act like a club and stuff, and make it like a party setting because they're making like club records. And I'm just like, this is crazy. Like I just got a booty like on my right and like a booty on my left, and I'm sitting there like on Pro Tools, like just trying to like record. I'm just like, out here,
my
just,
clip gain needs to be.
I'm just out here like clip gaining and stuff.
dB.
Yeah, that's like what I'm doing, and I just got like, there's so many people in there. I'm just like, this is crazy. So like the guy's in there, like he's on his phone, he's talking to the girls and stuff, and I'm just like doing like a rough mix as quick as I can because it's like it's record playing and like it's like I didn't even have time to like really set up my template or anything. I was just kind of going on whatever record plant's template was. So I was like learning record plant's template and learning like, you know, like putting, you know, Pro Q3 on the vocals and stuff and just like doing the thing and like, you know, messing with everything. I did a quick rough mix and then they're like, all right, like hit play. And so I just turned it up like as loud as it can go. So I couldn't hear them talk to me anymore and like yell at me. And I just hit play. And then they loved it and they were bumping to it and they loved everything I did and they were all happy with it. And they were like, this is a hit, bro. And I'm like, all right. And then at that point, it was like 4 a.m. And then they loved me for it. And then it's like the guy who was like yelling at me and like threatening me and stuff went into another room to keep writing. And then somebody else came in to like write. And then after like 5 minutes, the guy comes back in and he's like, can I see you for a second? And I was like, yeah, why? And he's just like, so we had the record plant engineer in there, but I like you a lot better. So I fired that guy. So like, why don't you come in? I'm just like, okay, like you fired an actual engineer at record plant and now you're bringing me in who's just like a teenager. Like stop, like don't put me under that pressure. So I came in and it was just a bad time. They're sending me beats that like were like, they had like the wrong tempos on them and stuff. The beat maker sends you a beat and it says the name of the beat. And then it says like, you know, 120 BPM, C sharp minor, whatever. And they're sending me beats that have the wrong keys and tempos listed. So I'm trying to like figure out like what tempo it actually is and like, you know, do like, you know, like tempo info and whatever, like get information on the beat and stuff and auto key and all this stuff. And they're just like, they were not having it. They're like, bro, just we put the tempo in the beat, just like keep it the same tempo. I'm like, these tempos are wrong, everybody. Like they're all wrong, but they didn't agree, I guess, or they were just trying to tell me like, no, we know they're right. But eventually at the end of the night, the guy who was actually making the beats was like, oh my God, I realized I put the wrong names on all the beats. Like, I'm so sorry. But these dudes are yelling at me and they're so mad at me. And then, so I was in a different room for that. And then I had to go back into the main room to get the files from the earlier songs. But like the other engineer who was working in there, like either took all the files or like record plant or some of the big studios have a policy where like at the end of the night before like the assistants and interns leave, like they like wipe the computer kind of to like prevent leaks and stuff. So like, but like I still had files on the computer and like I put most of them on my hard drive, but there were some that they were like working on that I wasn't in there on. I didn't know if the other engineer had them or not, but they were like all gone. And that was kind of like my lesson is like, all right, like no matter what, even if they tell me like, all right, get into another room right now, I have to stay on my ground and be like, okay, I'm making copies of these files right now. I'll be there in 2 minutes. Like, but like at that point I was just, they told me get over there and I was like, I'm going. So and it was so awful. I came home and cause I was there all night, like, you know, from, you know, 10 PM until whatever, like 3 PM the next day. And so like, I walked out of record plant and it was sunny and I was like, what time is it, everybody? Like, what is going on? And like, and then I just like, I got home and I was just like, I was freaking out. Cause like, they're going to start asking me for files and stuff. And I'm not going to have some of them. There's one of them that I made like triple copies of because it was like some big deal. It sampled some Beyonce song and they were like, we're sending this Beyonce's team to like get it cleared. Like this is the one. So I was like, all right, I made extra copies of that one. And then like, I didn't hear anything from them for like 2 months, but then like 2 months later, some random phone number texted me. I don't know how he got my phone number or what, but like this guy who texted me, he's just like, you know, like, like, what's your, I forgot to mention like the name thing too. I walked into the studio and cause I was drunk, they're like, bro's like, this producer's like, what's your name? And I'm like, name's Qu1tter. What's your name? Cause like I was listening to Quitters and I said Quitter's a good name. And I was like drunk. So I was just like Qu1tter. Cause I was just like saying some bullshit. And then I was like, what about you? He's like, I'm Bone Collector. My name's Given. And I was just like, that's crazy. You're just telling me you're going to murder me in my face. Like that's wild. Like I'm Bone Collector, but they gave me that name. Like, what are you saying? Like, so, and it freaked me out. But but then I got a text and it's like random number. It's like, yo, it's Bone. Like, send me that Beyonce sample song. And I was just like, oh wait, that's the one song I do have. So I sent him the vocals, I sent him the stems and everything. And he's like, all right, thanks. And that was the only one they asked for out of like the 20 that we did that day. And I was like, oh my God, I got so lucky because they would I would have been so screwed. So lesson.
That's good lessons.
You always make copies, and you just
Good lessons in there.
you just gotta be careful. You just gotta be careful, everybody. Yeah,
Well,
that's my horror story. That's like the scariest thing that's ever happened in my life.
I appreciate that. With that, we should wrap this episode. We're not gonna top that. Thank you,
Yeah,
Qu1tter.
we're done.
Thanks for
Thank
coming
you,
on, man.
Scoobert Dubert.